What's up, besties? It's your girl Morgan here, and you're listening to Your Internet Best Friend. What is up, besties? I'm just going to dig into this episode because I have a very special guest. She is a dear friend of mine. Everyone has requested her to come on the Your Internet Best Friend podcast. She's one of my biggest inspirations. I honestly give her credit for where I am today. And when you hear how we met, your jaw's going to drop because the universe and stars really aligned to bring us together. She's a best-selling author of the book Eat, Pray, FML, which I'm sure you've heard of. Her TikToks go wildly viral, which I need her to teach me how to do because mine get 2 views. She has her own podcast, which is kick-ass. The one and only Gabrielle Stone is joining me right now. Gabrielle, welcome.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. I'm so fucking excited to be on the opposite end of this with you. Yes!
It's so wild. I remember, because I think you were actually one of the first people I reached out to, and I was like, I think I want to do a podcast. Should I do it? And you actually were one of the ones who encouraged me. So here we are.
Here we are. I was like, yes, bitch, you absolutely should. Because you're so good. When you came on to my show for that first big interview that you did, I was like, oh, she's got the it factor, man. She's gotta do a pod.
And here we freaking are. I want to talk. I just have so many questions for you. One, you're freaking pregnant right now, and you're the cutest pregnant person ever. Can you give me a little life update? What's it like being preggers?
I am. I'm very fucking pregnant. This is going to be a very unhinged episode because of that. Tay, my husband, was like, whose podcast are you doing today? I was like, Morgan's, and it's about to be a shit show because it's not I'm going on being like, hi, I'm Gabrielle. I'm here to be interviewed. It's we're besties. It's going to be on another level. I'm very pregnant. I've been pretty good up until this past week. And I took a turn, and now I'm swollen as fuck. My feet are swollen. My hands are swollen. I had to take my rings off last night. For us coming from people who are in the gym constantly, it's an adjustment, you know, to see your body changing like that. I was fine with the belly. I'm good rocking the belly. I found some cute little maternity outfits. When my face started to show it, I was like, okay, I'm done.
I'm tapping out. You're due when? August?
Yes, late August. So we're in the final stretch of the third trimester. And it's
Wow.
Now I have these moments where I'm like, oh, there's something in there that's coming out. This is about to be a thing. You kind of forget sometimes that you're growing a fucking human.
A whole ass human. I always think of that. I'm like, Gabrielle is carrying a child and I can barely take care of myself. I'm like, what's that? Wait, what are you scared about? Are you scared about giving birth? Like a human's coming out of your vagina. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I'm very, I've always said, people are like, oh, are you going to do a home birth? Are you going to do a natural birth? I'm like, if by natural, you mean roll me into a hospital, shoot me up with an epidural and pray for me. Yeah, we're going that vibe. Yeah, I've always just not loved the idea of a large head coming out of a tiny hole. Mm-hmm. That's not really that fun for me to think about. But I keep trying to remind myself that women are built for this. Your bodies are built for this. People give birth in way shittier, surroundings all the fucking time and have been for thousands and thousands of years. We're going to be fine. We're going to get through it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm with you. I'm team epidural. I want, the second I feel pain, I'm put a needle in my back. Yes. I don't care. I want to feel nothing, but I'm so excited. I want to babysit your child. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but I feel like I'd be a good babysitter.
I'm just shipping him off to Nashville. Have fun with Auntie Morgan. It's fine.
Come on, we're going to go on Broadway together. Show up to the bar with a whole ass baby. They're like, what's happening? I'm like, it's fine. Gabrielle needs a break.
I love it. I will say for you and for anyone else that resonated with what you said about I feel like I can't even take care of myself right now. I felt that way probably 2 to 3 years ago. And I'm 34 right now. So that's normal to feel that. I was always people were when are you going to have kids? When's that going to happen? When's the next chapter in your life? And I was I'm fucking trying to take care of myself, guys. What? Right. And I was so focused on my career and I'm such a control freak. I was well, I'd like to get other things in place before we do the whole kids chapter. And the universe was no, bitch, it's all just going to happen at once. So hold on, and put your hands up for the roller coaster ride.
Buckle up, buttercup.
Yeah.
Wait, so with this pregnancy, it was not planned then. So it was kind of a surprise.
No, we were Tay and I were okay, we're going to do this. Like we're ready for that next step. So when we went to Italy last summer, God, was that last summer? Yeah, last summer. We, as we like to call it, pulled the goalie, and we're like, let's just see what happens. And that's the trip we got engaged on. So, I mean, because you were at my wedding, but we actually announced that I was pregnant. We had his daughter, my bonus kid, announce it to our wedding during our ceremony, and kind of like surprised most people. You were in the know. You knew because
Yes,
I had to
knew.
bail on your going away party. I was like, if I look at tequila, I might throw up on your face, Morgan.
And also, like, you could not have been at that going away party sober. It would have been an absolute miserable experience, especially pregnant. So, like, you forgiven.
I had much FOMO watching those stories. I was like, how am I going to tell her that, like, I can't ride the bull without her knowing that I'm pregnant? But we made it. We got through. But so it was planned. We were trying. It took like 3 months of trying, which I was really grateful for. My mom, it took her 6 years to get pregnant with me.
Wow.
So I had like a little bit of fear going into that. Like, oh God, what if like that's my journey? And like, I'm so fucking impatient. Like even 3 months, I was like, why isn't this happening?
Right.
But yeah, it was all kind of like planned and written in the stars.
I want to talk about your wedding really quick because I was there and it was beautiful. And also just like, I got to give you props. You dealt with so much. Like you had a wedding to plan. You were also pregnant. You're still doing your career, the podcast, like selling books, making fucking TikToks, which by the way, I want a TikTok tutorial. Every time I go on, you have like 20 million views and I'm like, how the hell does she do it? Anyways, but the wedding, how did you deal with everything and like stay sane? Did you stay sane? Like, were you struggling? You seemed so happy at your wedding.
I was so happy at my wedding. I stayed sane for the most part. We also moved houses 2 weeks before.
I forgot
the
about
wedding.
that.
So it was like all the biggest things in life that are like considered to be the most stressful, like having a baby, getting married, and moving, were all in our like 2-month plan. It was a little ridiculous. But I was so happy at my wedding because at this wedding, for those that don't know, I've been married before, spoiler alert. But at this wedding, I did exactly like what we wanted to do. Like I wore chucks. We had food trucks. Like we walked down the aisle together. Like it was very like people were asking me questions about like, how do you want this? How do you want this? I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like white flowers, make it chill. Like I want everybody to have a good time. Like it was very easy and not stressful in that sense. We did it in my mom's backyard. Like it was very us.
It was so much fun. They had an In-N-Out food truck, which now I'm like, I can't get married. I cannot have a wedding without an In-N-Out, where I want a Whataburger food truck because I'm like team Whataburger, not team In-N-Out. I'm like, now I have to freaking make that happen somehow. So I blame you for that. But so you've had 2 weddings. If you live under a rock and you don't know Gabrielle and you're listening, tuning in, being like, who is this chick? She has been married twice. She wrote a best-selling book called Eat, Pray, FML, talking about her journey. When I got cheated on, we'll go into how we met because that's insane. But with all of that, you've had 2 weddings. So you had your first one, which seemed like, I don't know, like that was like a formal wedding if I've creeped well enough on your Instagram and like looked at the photos. And then you had this wedding, which seemed like what you wanted. It was chill. Like you didn't follow really any of like the traditional wedding rules. What advice would you give to brides? Because I don't know, I look and I'm like, I feel like I need to do like a traditional wedding, but now you've done it both. So I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
No, do what the fuck you want. Like, don't let your parents, don't let friends, like, don't let anybody influence what you want to do. It's your day. Like, if you don't want to have a wedding and you just want to go take an epic trip, like, go do that, Like, don't conform to what people are asking of you to do. My first wedding, my poor mom worked her ass off to pay for it. It was like this huge, extravagant fucking thing. I produced the shit out of my first wedding. Nothing went wrong. It was fucking amazing and everybody had a blast. We just cast the male lead horribly wrong. But it was wonderful as far as parties go. Like it was great. But my second wedding just felt so much more personal and special. And just right. So I would say like, do exactly what you want to do and don't let people pressure you into like doing like the traditional thing.
Right.
Like the other day, I was watching Friends with my bonus daughter, and she was like, "Oh, why? I thought the bride and the groom were supposed to walk down the aisle together. Why aren't they doing that?" And that's because she saw us do that at our wedding. I was like, "No, that's actually not how it's supposed to go. Normally, your dad walks you down." But I love that you think that.
Yeah. Also, like, let's change the way weddings work. Because, like, weddings have been around. I don't know when the first fucking wedding was. Like, back when Jesus would walk the earth, but like I think we can change kind of some of the formal rules of weddings at this point.
100%. And us walking down the aisle together was one of both of our favorite moments of that day, because we got to like hold hands and see all these people that showed up to like love us and hold space for us. And that was such an emotional moment for both of us. It was really, really special, as opposed to like walking down with the nerves of like the guy at the other end and like, you know, like, look, if you have a dad that you want to walk down with, I love that for you, and like totally do that. I'm sure your dad will be doing that with you. My first wedding, my stepdad walked me down, and it was wonderful and beautiful. But there was something really special and different about being able to do it with my partner.
No, I actually love that, especially now that like I know I've gotten to know Tay. It's just so fitting that you guys would walk down together. But now I have to talk about your shitty ex-husband, because I'm curious.
Of course.
So with that wedding, Daniel, we call him from the book, whenever you walk down the aisle, I don't know, you always see grooms and they have tears in their eyes, and I'm always like, if I walk down that aisle and I see my husband and he is not tearing up and emotional seeing me, I'm going to walk away, which I wouldn't, but I'll be upset if he's not like, oh my God, my bride. What was he emotional? Was it stone cold? Like, he's obviously a raging psycho narcissist, for lack of better terms.
I love it.
But I'm like, what was that? I don't know, did you see a red flag or anything at your wedding?
The only red flag I saw, he was emotional. There is photo and video evidence of him being emotional. But it did seem a little forced looking back on it. What did happen was when we were standing up there during the ceremony, I remember vividly looking at him and being like, are you okay? Like, he looked like he was about to pass out. And I was like, maybe he's just nervous because like we're about to say vows and like there's all these people here. But knowing what I know now and like all the bullshit that's gone down, I think he was like full on like panicking and like, I should have run and now we're already in front of people and like now we got to go through with it type thing, somewhere in his soul. But that was the only kind of like red flag moment. And then once that passed, everything was fine and like seemed perfect.
Wild. Wait, now I'm curious and going down this rabbit hole because I feel like I haven't asked you this. So you got married to this guy. It obviously ended, plot twist, if you guys are not aware of that by now. But when did you start, like, in the timeline of being married? When did you first be like, oh shit, like I've got to get out of the situation? Like, how much time went by?
Oh God. So there were red flags in that relationship before we even got engaged, much less got married. But they were red flags that like I rationalized in my head, which I think we do a lot in relationships when we have those fucking love goggles on and we're like, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, I can fix this. I was an actress when I met him. That was like my career. That was my dream, my passion. And I was working as an actress. And if I ever went on set and had any type of intimacy scenes that I had to do, and that could be as simple as like a mouth kiss to something more, it was freaking hell to pay. Like, he would call me crying. We would get in screaming fights on the phone. Like, it would A, make my job miserable, but B, like really take away what I had been working so hard to get to and making me feel like I was doing something wrong when I was like succeeding in my career. Even if I didn't have any intimacy stuff, like, why are you going out with your male co-stars for dinner? Like, why are you hanging out with these people outside of set? Like, very, very jealous and crazy. And then he would fix those fights that we would get into by being like, oh, let me take you to this fancy dinner. Let's book a trip for the weekend. Like, how can I make it better with like gifts and acts of service, which was my love language. So I was all in this fucked up cycle of like, well, but he loves me. See, we can go to therapy and work through it. It's really difficult to be in a career like this. So I was rationalizing all of these red flags before we even got married.
Wild. When did you first, so after you got married, there were red flags, which by the way, I'm thinking about my previous relationship, and at least you got gifts. I didn't even get gifts. I think the only gift
shit end of the stick, bro.
I got gaslit, and I never got a spa day or I asked for a Louis Vuitton bag for my birthday, and I got a mountain bike. So
I cannot. The mountain bike, I cannot.
The mountain bike that I never got back, which I'm still, if anyone's in Southern California and wants to go steal my bike and my egg chair back, I'll give you the address. Send me a DM. I know how to get into the garage.
Listen, you fucking rotten piece of fruit. Like, just send the fucking bike back, bro. Like, come on.
Like, I want it shipped via USPS to Nashville. I know that's going to be very expensive. Going to wrap that bad boy up because I would like to sell it. Like, I really don't want to. It wasn't even a cute color. It's black and green. I'm like, really? Like, anyways, I'm not going to complain. I'm going on freaking tangents. When was the last time you talked to, or like, have you had any interaction with Daniel, which is your ex from the book, if those know that name?
Yeah. So let me give people if you are not aware of who I am or what this book is about, let me give them
me the cliff notes.
The cliff notes so they kind of have some context. So I was married for almost 2 years. In the book, his name is Daniel. Found out he was having an affair with a 19-year-old for 6 months with a lot of other extramarital bullshit that came to light later on. Filed for divorce, left, met this pretty well-known Hollywood actor, fell madly in love with each other, and had this like whirlwind romance where he was like, meet my family, I'm gonna have babies with this person, like signed, sealed, delivered, we're done. And invited me on a month-long trip to Italy. 48 hours before we were getting on a plane, he told me he needed to go by himself and broke up with me. I was fucking devastated, broke my heart like my ex-husband never could have done. And I was sitting at my mother's house, because that's where you move when you are 28 and get divorced, with a bottle of wine, just like in a puddle of tears, and was like, okay, bitch, you have a decision to make. You can either stay at home heartbroken, you can go travel Europe for a month by yourself. Took a backpack, did 6 countries over the month, and wrote the book Eat, Pray, FML about it. So that's why you and I connect on our solo travel journeys. I have pressured Morgan into be like, bitch, go. I'll never forget when you texted me and you were like, the guy I was supposed to go to Portugal with just bailed on me. What do? I was like, if you don't get on that fucking plane.
You have to go. No, and like, Gabrielle, I'm not kidding. If you were not introduced into my life, I would be a wildly different human. Like, it really is. It's crazy to think about if we were never at the same resort in Hawaii, which I'm going to talk about that. But like, you really have changed my life. Any big decision that happens, like when, again, we have weirdly similar parallels. I'm still waiting for the love of my life to come into the picture, but we're going to get there eventually. But I bailed on 48 hours before I was supposed to go to Portugal. You were the very first person I texted. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I was about to cancel my flight, and I text Gabrielle, and I'm like, do I go to Portugal by myself? Like, I don't know. I can't do it. And I got to find the text that you sent me back. I'm sure it's screenshot somewhere, but you were like, if you don't get on that damn plane and go to Portugal. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to do it. And that trip changed my whole entire life. And now I just got back from a solo trip to Bali, which changed my whole entire life and opened my eyes up to so much. And I really do give you a lot of the credit for that. So
I will gladly take the credit for that. Like, if you are listening to this and you are scared to solo travel, get over it, push through it, whatever you have to do. I promise you it will change your life. You will become a different person in all of the best ways. And it is one of the best things that you can gift yourself as like a human being. Male, female, doesn't matter. Go fucking solo travel. But after I went on a tangent, to answer your question, have I like heard, I think it was, have I heard from Daniel or have I talked to him?
It was like the last interaction with Psycho X.
Oh, girl. I mean, that's a whole separate podcast. But I did an episode of my podcast, FML Talk, like back in like the early first season. I think it's episode 3 or 4, actually, where I kind of touch on some of the stuff that has happened post-book. So Cliff Notes is the book went super viral. A lot of people now have read it. I'm very grateful for that. It's helped a lot of women and men around the world. And he got wind of that, as did his girlfriend. I don't know what to call it.
What do we even call mistress? I don't know.
I don't know what their dynamic is. I've heard horror stories, but anyways, the 19-year-old who now I'm sure is older.
She's forever 19. She froze in time. She never gets to get older.
Dead. But basically, he became a sociopath and really like attacked me and a lot of people that I kept in my inner circle on social media, and paid a lot of money to have certain accounts shut down and use certain hackers. And I learned more about the dark web than I have ever wanted to know. And it was about a year and a half of like pretty gnarly shit with him, like rearing his ugly head. And since then, knock on fucking wood, it's been pretty quiet.
Wow.
Because truly, like, and this goes for both the men in the books, like, it took a little bit longer for me to feel this way about Javier, who's the man that dumped me before Europe, than it did about Daniel. But they're both very much so now just characters in my story. Like, I can talk about the relationships. I can talk about the situation. I can, like, talk about it till the cows come home. And it doesn't feel like it was part of my life. I don't have that surge anymore, and that makes me react or feel anything. Like, I'm so grateful for both of them, both of the experiences that I've had. They completely shifted my career path and was the catalyst to like me going on a huge healing journey and changing my entire fucking life. Like, I would go through all of that bullshit with them, both of them, 10 times over to end up where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
You mentioned, like, you know, TikTok. The only hate that I usually get on TikTok, other than, you know, like the trolls that are living in their parents' basements, that's like, you must have not been sucking dick enough, and like, you know, like, go make a sandwich, that's why he cheated. Like, okay,
like,
bro,
sick, bro.
Thank you. I'll note that for my next relationship. Yeah. Are people being like, why do you keep talking about the same fucking story? Like, you must not be over it, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, first of all, it's marketing. Like, I'm selling books on this platform, A. But second of all, when you've healed from shit and you're like, I'm good, dude, like, we're fine. Like, I could go to coffee with either of those motherfuckers and be like, yo, bro, this was some shit. Like, what happened on your end? Like, tell me everything. Like, this is wild. Like, look how far we've come and what we've been through. Like, it's a beautiful place when you can get to a place of healing and you can use humor and sarcasm and speak about your experiences in order to help other people, because they're not necessarily that far on their healing journey, and the stuff that you're going to say and the content you're going to put out there is going to help them in whatever place they're at.
Absolutely. And I relate to that so much, because I think the biggest critique I get, and even when I'm like, hey guys, what do you want to listen to on the podcast? What topics? A lot of people are like, we want to hear about your last relationship. How'd you heal? Tell us. I mean, a lot of people want like the dirty details, because I haven't really gone into that much, but I like to drop little truth bombs. So like, I will say on this podcast that I asked him to put together furniture for me. Instead, he tried to go meet up with a stripper in Burbank. But like, anyways, we'll just drop nuggets of information as the podcast goes on. But a lot of other people, when I ask these things, they're like, oh my God, please, like, come on, like, don't respond to the people who want to know about your relationship. Like, why are you still talking about that? And same with you. It's like, oh, no. Like, guys, I've healed. I'm not like you, Gabrielle, where I want to go sit down and have coffee with him, which like maybe I'll get to later in life. But it's to the point where it doesn't bother me. It's part of my story. I'm so much happier now than I was 2 years ago. I'm so much happier than when I initially came on your podcast to talk about that breakup. Like, I remember how scared I was. I was terrified to even sit down and talk to you. And now I'm like, look, we're doing a podcast now. We're talking freely about everything that's happened in our life. And I'm like, no, like, if I can talk about what happened to me and some young girl out there can relate, then I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do it time and time again. And I don't really give a shit about who it annoys or who thinks that I'm not over it. So I relate to that so much.
As you fucking should. Like, it's your story. You have owned everything that's happened to you. And like, when we speak about our experiences, it helps other people recognize the bullshit in their own life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about things that you went through in a narcissistic relationship, people can be like, oh shit, like that puts off a light bulb in like this relationship that I'm in or this toxic relationship that I got out of, and helps them heal and go on their own journey. So people should always speak about their shit when they're healed and able to and ready to get it out there. It's like, it's only going to help people.
Exactly. And I think the quote, I don't know if you said this or someone told me, I feel like it actually was you when I did your podcast, but it's like, if you don't want shitty things said about you, don't do shitty things. So it's like, you're allowed to say anything that happened to you personally. If someone else did something, then if they didn't want that spoken about, simply don't do it. So like, that's kind of what I live by now. It's like, well, it's my story to tell. Like, I'm literally just telling the truth about everything that happened in my life. So maybe people should behave better moving forward.
I feel like people in my life now, after I wrote the first book, were like, oh, okay, like we can't fuck up with her because she'll write about it. And it's like, yeah, bro, if you want to be fucking written about, well, behave better. Like, bottom line.
Exactly.
And that's what it is. Like, I made a joke in our vows when I got married to Tay and was like, no pressure, but like everyone that's read the second book thinks you're like the fucking pedestal of like what men need to be in life. So like, don't fuck up.
Like, no pressure, which I'm sorry, Tay can do no wrong. I'm like, Tay for president. We love Tay. Like, he is a gem of a human. You call him your unicorn. Like, I'm not kidding. I think he is what every girl should look towards, like every quality, like the way he treats you. Like, what's like the last thing that he did that you're just like, damn, I'm so lucky to have him?
Honestly, like, and this is, it sounds so annoying, guys, but like, look, I've gone through the fucking ringer, so let me have my moment of being like, yeah, I have one of the best guys out there. And like, look, that's not to say that we don't have like issues. Like, we go to therapy when stuff comes up. Like, we take good care of our relationship. There's always going to be stuff, but it shouldn't be a big percentage of shit. You should be happy 90% of the time, I feel.
Yeah.
So the last thing he did, he's been on a commercial shoot for the past 4 days. So he's been working from like 8 a.m. in the morning to like 8 p.m. at night. And he's just exhausted. And he woke up this morning, took a shower, and then came back, sat in bed, and rubbed my feet and my hands because he knows how like much they ache in the morning. And then I got up and he had already left, and he had like pre-made a little latte for me and put it in the fridge. And it was like, it's like little things like that, you know,
Yeah.
like people should expect like those little things that are important, like for people to show up for you because you're worth that.
And also, yeah, like you deserve it too. I think for the longest time, I really in my head was convinced that I just simply, because I wasn't working hard enough or I wasn't doing the right stuff, like I did not deserve those things. And it's like, no, everyone deserves it. Everyone. And I think that like, don't settle. Because for me, I think that's my biggest learning experience is like, don't settle for the bullshit. Like you don't have to, because if you wait, then the right person is going to enter your life and you are going to get foot rubs and you are going to get lattes in your refrigerator.
Yes.
You just got to wait and find them.
Everyone should have that. And I want to tell the people that are listening that are like either in a relationship that's not that great or trying to like manifest a relationship, there's got to be some accountability on your end. And I talk about this on my show a lot and people get kind of triggered. So like, bear with me, guys. But when you see a pattern in your life, like whether it's in a relationship or in your career or in your friendships, when there's a pattern, there is something within you that is manifesting that into your life to act as a mirror to be like, hey, bitch, it's time to wake up and like heal some shit. That does not mean that you deserve it. It doesn't mean that you deserve the constant people cheating on you. For me, it was my abandonment. I had this crazy fear of abandonment from losing my dad when I was young, losing my high school sweetheart. So I attracted my ex-husband who abandoned me in one of the most heinous ways possible. And then I attracted Javier, who quite literally physically abandoned me 48 hours before we were getting on this stupid plane. Like, I had to take accountability for that to be like, okay, what is this trying to tell me so that I can fix it and go manifest someone that's never going to abandon me? When you manifested and attracted that. I love that I keep wanting to call him the stupid rotten fruit, but that's what we're going to go with today.
Honestly, it's good. I call him Voldemort, but I like stupid rotten fruit, honestly, way better.
Like that's a perfect example of you saying, I didn't know what my worth was, and I thought because I wasn't working hard enough. He mirrored that perfectly to you.
Absolutely.
He fucking showed you real clear, like, yep, that's exactly what you need to work on and shift in order to attract something different in the future.
Yes.
So we have to take that accountability and like, why am I attracting the fucked up shit into my life, and how can I recognize the pattern and then change it?
Yes, I think the best quote I just saw somewhere on Instagram, someone said, be the type of man that you want to marry. Like literally, like you as a person, whatever you want, energy attracts energy. So for me, anytime I'm feeling not so confident, or, whatever like shift I need to make, I'm like, okay, no, I want a confident man. I want a man who thinks I am worthy. I want a man who treats me. So I'm going to do that for myself. And then I'm going to like hopefully bring that in. So I think that's something to remember. Like you literally need to be, you physically need to be the person that you want to marry. Because like energy,
Amen.
man.
Yes.
It's freaking men.
100%. You have to be vibrating on the level of what you're wanting to attract into your life. So if you're going, oh my God, I don't have enough money. Life would be so much easier if I just like had more money, and like, oh God, but I hate going to work. Like you can't fucking manifest all this money if you hate money. Like you got to start loving money if you want to start attracting that into your life. You can't be like, fuck all men. Like they all suck. Like men are assholes. They all cheat. Fuck them. But I really want to find a great relationship. No, bitch, you're walking around saying like, fuck this. I hate men. Keep that shit away from me. Like goodbye. You have to start vibrating on the level of the shit that you want to attract.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. Everyone read, repeat, say that in your head 18 trillion times. And like, okay, so Gabrielle, I've got so many relationship questions for the Morgan and Gabrielle hotline. I want to get into those, but I want to quickly talk about how we met, because if those who have not heard this story, anytime I tell it, people are like, how in the hell? This is the most random thing. So briefly tell the people like how the hell we met, how we were at the same resort in Hawaii. Like, it's to this day, I'm just like, it was divine freaking timing.
It was divine freaking timing. So I am friends with Tori Deal. I don't even remember how we met, but we connected and like totally clicked. And so I've been a long time reality TV junkie. So I knew who you were from the challenge. And I went to the Hyatt Regency in Maui, which is like a hugely special hotel for us. Like my mom and dad honeymoon there. I got engaged there the first time. I took my baby moon there with Tay like a couple months ago. Like it's our spot. And Tay and I were there a couple summers ago. And I remember seeing a post from you that came up on my page, even though I wasn't following you yet. It was like on the popular page. And you were at the fucking resort. And I sent the post to Tori and I was like, I'm here right now. Like, what are the fucking odds?
Wild.
And I think it was like, I don't know if you had announced what had happened yet or if it hadn't broke on
E-News. I think they had just posted when I got to Hawaii, like our breakup photo. It was so dramatic.
Oh, then that's what I saw for sure. And I was like, oh fuck, this sucks, poor girl. And I messaged Tori and was like, dude, like this is crazy. I'm at this resort right now. And she was like, you should seriously reach out to her. Like your book might save her with what she's dealing with right now. It's really shitty. And I was like, oh, that's so cringy to like just be like, hey girl, like what's up?
Heard you got cheated on. Like, here's a book.
Totally. I was like, that's so cringy. But like also I wanted to like offer any sort of like heartbreak healing that I could. And then I went to your page to like creep on you, and you had posted a fucking photo of the pool, and I zoomed in and I'm like, that's Tay and I sitting on the fucking lounge chair. Like I was like, all right, universe, I got it. And so I sent you a DM. The rest is kind of history.
So wild. And I will never forget, because I was going through it. I unfortunately found out about the whole scandal. I had to go to Hawaii. The very next day I had to get on an airplane and go like have happy, fun times with my family. I was crying the whole entire time. My poor parents were like, we've been looking forward to this one vacation we get to take a year. And our daughter's in a puddle on the couch and like refuses to leave the room. But Tori had reached out to me and she had talked about your book. And she was like, I think you need to read this. So I had it in my Amazon cart, but I had not purchased it yet. I was like, I don't know, like, sure, add to cart, but like, I'm not going to purchase it yet. Then I get the message from you. And I remember telling my parents, because I was just like, there's no freaking way. And I was like, Mom, you're never going to believe this. Like, this girl's reaching out to me. She's an author. Like, I think I need to read this book. She's at the resort at the same exact time as me. Plot twist. And then I read the book, and I'm not kidding. You were part of my healing journey. I literally would only read one chapter every single night. Just one. Because I like did not want the book to end. I was like, okay, like I get one chapter with Gabrielle every single night. It's going to like prolong the healing time. Hopefully by the end of that, then I'll be good to go. And then when I finally decided I wanted to speak out about the breakup, you were the very first person that came to mind. Like, I didn't want to do any reality TV podcast. I didn't want to do like someone brought up Caitlin Bristow, someone brought up like Us Weekly. And I was like, no, like the only one I feel comfortable going on was yours. And then we just became friends. And now here we are. Now we're on my podcast, which is just like a weird
It's
full
not
circle
not
moment.
weird at all. It's so full circle. And I was so touched when you reached out to me about doing the podcast, because I took it so seriously, because I know how much you wanted to speak your truth, but not present it in this like, ooh, let's like talk about the tea type of way. And I really on my show, it's very much so like, tell your story. How can we empower people? How can you like, you know, grow from it and heal your fucking trauma? And I feel like when we released that episode, I got so many messages. Like Claire Crawley from The Bachelorette reached out to me and was like, oh my God, this was like, she was so powerful in this interview. Like, thank you for like the way that you shaped it and da 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 da. Like, I got so much great feedback, and I was so honored that you chose me to help you tell that story.
Absolutely. And I would do it 10 times over and over again. Like, I would not change the way anything worked out. Like, I was so nervous. Like, you sent me the episode and I was like shaking. I paced around my living room just like listening to this. And I was so nervous because I was just preparing myself for the floodgates of mean MTV people and fans. And I'm not kidding. And maybe it's because I was just overwhelmed with so many people supporting your podcast and my story. Like, I don't think I saw a single negative thing. I think everyone was just like, thank you for sharing your story. So if you're listening out there and you're nervous about speaking out, or you want to share something, or you want to step away from a toxic ass situation, please just do it. Like, look at us both. Yeah. And please just follow our lead, and like, it only gets better. Like, if you believe that, it really only gets better. You just have to take that first like leap of faith. So,
yes.
Oh my God,
yes.
Gabrielle, I freaking love you. Let's answer some people's sad relationship questions.
Love it. Let's
give them some insight. So on my Instagram, I did a Q&A. I was like, Ask Morgan hotline, but now it's like plot twist, Ask Morgan and Gabrielle hotline. So we're going to answer as many of these as we can in like the next 20 minutes. Okay, so the first person, she said, I'm engaged and I want nothing to do with my mother-in-law. The mother-in-law wanted to pick my bridesmaids' dresses. She wanted to hand-pick my guest list, and then we set boundaries. Good for you. And she decided to not go to the wedding, and then she told everyone that we disinvited her to the wedding. What do I do? I'm going to let you go first.
What a fucking psycho. So let's just like, I feel you, girl. My first mother-in-law, oh God, was a piece of work. Like, she had some shit going on, and I remember vividly being like, I'm not marrying his family, I'm marrying him. That's true to an extent, but like, be wary of that shit. Like, I'm not saying obviously don't, you know, marry your person that you love if they have like a psycho ass mother-in-law, but you have to set those boundaries. Those are so important. Mm-hmm. So that my first piece of advice is what they already did, but also like, everyone is going to see that that's batshit crazy. Like, right. That she was trying to pick bridesmaids dresses and like, what? Like, absolutely not. But no. Yeah, setting those boundaries and making sure that your partner is enforcing those boundaries, because there's only so much you can set boundaries until the cows come home. But if your partner isn't enforcing them with his family, like that, he has to step up to the plate and take responsibility with that and make sure that that's taken care of.
And like, I'm sure that's heartbreaking, obviously, his mom not being there. But honestly, if I'm listening to this, I think it's a blessing in disguise. Like, obviously, you would want her there. But one, I would tell all my guests the truth. I'd be like, nope, she actually chose to not come. Like, I don't think you need to hide that. And also imagine if she's this much of a nightmare now, wanting to pick the bridesmaids' dresses. Imagine how obnoxious she's going to be the day of. So I actually think in a weird way, this is the universe having your back. But yeah, again, everything you said, make sure your husband also is like standing up to his mom. Cause I feel like a lot of guys have like weird mom relationships where like sometimes I feel like the moms, it's like mama's boy. So as long as he's also stepping up and being like, no, this is also psycho. I don't know.
And
the
that's
best of luck.
That's with anything. Like in my situation with Tay, he has an ex-wife who's also the mother of Junie. And we've had to set boundaries in that respect to keep our relationship healthy. And he's responsible for enforcing those. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like it's in any capacity, like you and your partner have to come together, agree on like what a plan of action is, what's going to best serve each of you individually and you as a relationship, and protect that relationship. And then you both have to enforce those with like the appropriate people.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. This is an interesting one because I feel like we might differ on our answers. Okay, if you break up, is it ever a good idea to get back together with that person?
Oh my God, you go first because now I'm interested why you think we're going to differ on this.
My rationale is they're an ex for a reason. And I don't know if this is because I think of all my past relationships and I'm just like, I don't think that they were the healthiest. So I'm like, I don't know. I just think once something ends, you should not jump back into that. But that's for me personally. I think you need to address the situation. Maybe you guys had a mutual ending. You need to do some healing, some work, and then you can get back together. But I always say they're an ex for a reason. But
that's
Gabrielle,
fair.
You're going to say something wise. I can feel it. I can feel it.
No, I think that's fair. And for most situations, I think that you're correct. However, and let me preface this by I'm going to say this, but please don't walk around being like, well, Gabrielle said like he might be the one if he just like fixes his shit and heals. No, that's 90% of the time not going to happen. But for me, when people read the second book, which is the sequel to Eat, Pray, FML, that's kind of like the 2 years that happened when I came back from Europe. And I was a fucking mess. Like I was not healed. And that's when Tay came into my life initially. And he's the only person that I've ever been with, broken up with. I think we're I think I bought him a Valentine's Day gift that said like fourth time's a charm because like the time that we actually stayed together was time number 4, which is insanity to me. But that wasn't because it was a toxic situation that I left and then decided to get back into. That was on me for needing to heal and like discover shit about myself and really like close up other loose ends that I had going on. I will say my key rule is apologies without changed behavior don't fucking mean anything. Mm-hmm. So if you're going back to an ex that like did a bunch of shit that like wasn't cool or you weren't being treated how you deserved, like just because they look hot at a nightclub when you see them doesn't mean that they like have done a bunch of work on themselves and it's ready to go hop on that dick. No, sweetheart. Like changed behavior is the only thing that's acceptable for you to like entertain a situation that once happened.
Oh my God, preach. I mean, I'm still not going to ever get back with any of my exes, but I support and I'm so happy you and Tay got back together because I'm like, can you picture your life without him? Like, I don't even know him that well, but I could not picture you guys not together. So
I can't, and I can't like imagine, like I look back at like moments throughout that second book and like times where I was like, no, this can't be the right fit. And I'm like, what the fuck was I like? Everybody around me saw it. Like my friends were like, this is the best person that's ever entered your life. What are you doing? And I like, sometimes it just takes a while for you to like wake up and fucking see it. So.
But also timing of everything. If it's not working then, there was a reason. There was a reason you guys did not get together when everything happened. So like, you just have to trust the timing of everything. Hello, my word of the year, trust. Okay. How do you meet people this will be interesting. How do you meet people outside of dating apps? Well,
Morgan.
I deleted all of my dating apps. So look, some people meet the love of their lives on Bumble, Tinder. I know some of my friends are engaged from Hinge. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying my rule of thumb, if you go on an app and you leave feeling worse than when you logged on that app, delete it. It's just not worth wasting your time. Instead of scrolling on an app, I know this is hard for some people, but you're gonna have to go outside of your bedroom and off your phone and actually meet people. And I know it is hard because like, you're gonna say, oh, go to a coffee shop or like go to the gym. And it's not like what you just show up and guys approach you. I think you have to be open. Like you have to be open and like smiling and having an energy where you embrace people. And then also shoot your shot. I think that's what girls are so scared of doing. It's like, yes, if you see a guy at the gym or you see a guy getting coffee or you see someone on social media, the power of Instagram is kind of wild. Like I know so many girls who have literally slid into a DM. I think that also utilizing your social network, like make your friends know I am single. I am open to dating. Can you introduce me to your coworker, your boyfriend's friends? Like, make it known that you're open to like a group date. And like, don't be ashamed of being single. Like, I own it proudly. Everywhere I go, I'm like, token single girl, right here. Who wants to set me up?
Yeah, totally. And I think that, you know, it's making the effort. So like if you have an invitation to go to a friend's birthday party where like you can go with people, but there will be other people that you haven't met. Like you have to go to those things. It's like networking for dating. Like you have to put yourself out there to be in those situations to meet people. Like you can't meet someone eating sushi on your couch watching Netflix. I wish you could because that's my happy place. So I understand. But like you have to get out of your house. And I also think, not to bring it back to pressure you guys to solo travel, but like you will meet so many fucking people on those travels and on those trips.
Absolutely.
Granted, like there will be people from all around the world. So it's like, what am I going to do if I meet the love of my life and he lives in Australia? But like the amount of men that I met on my Eat Per FML trip, like, you know, like solo travel's not the worst place to get out of your comfort zone and really like stop feeling like you can't walk up and approach people and say hi to people and like start conversations. Like it will give you that confidence to be able to do that in your home day-to-day life.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Yeah. Oh my God, look at Portugal Chris, who like, I think he's dating someone now, which is like kind of sad, but I met him on my solo trip and like we ended up hitting it off and he became a dear friend and I would have never met him had I not gone on the solo trip. So be open.
Love Portugal Chris. Yes.
We love Portugal Chris. Hope he's well. Hope he's doing great. Okay. My boyfriend won't live with me when we have been together 2.5 years. What in the actual fuck?
Well, the first question I would have is why? Because I have a girlfriend who is in a similar situation like this. And it's because like the reasoning is like his spot that he's in is such a prime spot and he's like not paying for it and blah, 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 whatever. But I would say like, are you communicating about it? Like, have you sat down and been like, hey, I'm not in a relationship to just like be dating for the next 5 years. So like when do you see this progressing? Like, what are your reasonings for not wanting to live together? Like, where does that come from? Like, is it like a past bad experience you've had? Communication, guys, is like it's such a duh. Of course, that's like the reason to everything. But like truly, like if you're not talking about it and you're not asking those questions and you're not like stating what you need, like no one can show up and give that shit to you.
Absolutely. Also, I totally agree with that. And for me, and maybe this is because my last relationship, we obviously never lived together. And again, that was because of communication issues. So you have to talk, but also I don't think 2.5 years is that long. Like, do you think that's a long time?
I think it depends on
to
the
not
couple.
live with someone?
No, yeah. I think it depends on the couple. I wouldn't get caught up in like the timeline of it, like what society says is appropriate and we should be living together by now. I would get caught up on like his answers to these questions. Like, is there a reason you don't want to live together? Like, did something happen in the past that like, is that going to be a continued thing? Are we going to get to a 5-year mark and you don't want to live together? Cause like, then I need to like make some adjustments in like what I'm thinking about, you know, like you got to start asking those questions about why and like, why aren't we on the same page about it? And are we going to get to be on the same page about it?
Right. No, I'd be curious if this listener who wrote this in, please give me a follow-up because I'm actually now wildly invested in your life and I would like to know, like, have you talked to him about it? Because it obviously she's upset about it, but I have a feeling, why am I thinking that her partner's just clueless? Like, men are clueless. He's probably la-di-dying in La La Land, unaware, I'm assuming. I'm totally making up a situation for this listener, but please follow up and let me and Gabrielle know. Ooh, okay, moving on. Ooh, okay, I feel like both of us can weigh in on this. How to date or even trust someone again after being cheated on in a narcissistic relationship.
I mean, I can talk about that till the fucking cows come home. Okay. So if there was ever a time in my life that I should have like put the walls up around my heart and been like, we're closing up shop, everybody fuck off, like not trusting people, it would have been after finding out my ex-husband was banging a 19-year-old for 6 months. Yes. So if I would have done that, I would have not met Javier, would have not fallen in love with him, would have not gotten my heart fucking broken and gone on this crazy trip that changed my life, had me write the book, had me heal myself, like gave me a different career. Like it all was supposed to happen in that way. Like my life, you can look at as a blueprint of like everything happens for a reason completely.
Yeah.
And if you're not open to falling in love and connecting with people, like you're just closing off yourself from experiences because two things are going to happen. You're either going to be fucking wildly happy and in love and then like, yay, everybody's like great and fantastic, or you're going to get your fucking heart broken, but you're going to learn so many lessons throughout that heartbreak. It's going to make you a different person. It's going to allow you to step into this new version of yourself that's going to attract that person that you so desperately want in your life. Like it's all fucking worth it, but you have to be willing to move into the trust and into the relationships. That's not saying to like shut your eyes, put a bandana on and be like, there's no red flags here. We're at a carnival. Let's fucking party. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Like be smart. But if there's no legitimate reasons not to trust this person, like what do you have to lose? Like you're going to get something out of either way.
Absolutely. And I would say kind of piggybacking on that, yes, trust, do that, but also take time for yourself. I think especially if you were in a narcissistic relationship where I'm assuming all of your time and energy went to that other person, where you lost yourself and you didn't get to do things that you wanted to do anymore. Take at least a little bit of time. And what I did is make a list of every single thing that you missed out on, that you didn't get to do in your relationship, that you want to do. And please, for the love of God, do it. Do it before you jump into another relationship. Do it. This might be the only time. You don't know when you're going to go meet the love of your life again. Hopefully you can trust and you heal. But like you don't know when you'll have another time where you're alone. And I think so much healing comes from being alone. So on that note, take the freaking trip, book a ticket, go somewhere by yourself. But like really, really, really like please listen when I say do stuff by yourself and really, really like, I don't know. I feel like enjoy that time. And then like, don't feel like, I feel like a lot of people looked at me and they're like, when are you going to date again? When are we going to see you with a boyfriend? And I'm like, plot twist. It's been 2 years. Still haven't. But it's like, I don't even think I went on a date for a year. I might've been ready earlier, but I was not, I don't know. I just wanted to do so much for myself that it really was a whole entire year before I even thought about looking at another man. And that's freaking okay. Like it's totally fine to take some time.
And I can promise you that you will never look back on that time in your life and be like, fuck, I wish I would have like dated around a little more instead of like doing all this awesome shit for myself. Like, no, you're always going to be so thankful. The time that I lived alone in my cute little fucking apartment was like the highlight of my 20s. I was like, I'm not moving out of this apartment until I purchase a house with like whoever I'm purchasing a house with. And I didn't and that was like the fact that some people don't give themselves that time to like live alone and be alone and like really like enjoy that and take care of yourself in that and make it like a good thing as opposed to like a woe is me thing. It's really important.
Absolutely. Like, go make your apartment the girliest. I don't know if you see my cheetah print pillow behind me, but go make it the girliest, like however you want to decorate it. Like when you don't have a man, I don't care what it looks like, pink sparkles, whatever. That's your only time to like live alone. And I also firmly believe everyone should live alone at least one time in their life, because if not, I firmly believe if you are always in a relationship, you're always living with someone, you're going to hit a point when you're like, shit, I didn't ever do that. Like, now I got to get out of the situation that I'm in. So I don't know. That's just like my 2 cents on that.
No, I totally agree with that.
Okay. This I feel like is an adult question, and I clearly am a 29-year-old who doesn't know what a beneficiary is. Okay, Gabrielle, so please help me out.
I'm
Would you marry someone who doesn't want to put you down as their beneficiary? His mom is his and I'm not.
Oh, okay. This is interesting. Wow. Okay. So for any of my Morgans out there, a beneficiary is, so like, okay, for example, if I have a life insurance policy and like when I die, whoever I've chosen as my beneficiary automatically gets like $500,000. Like that's like their security, their insurance. It's interesting to me because it's like first of all, I'm assuming this person's married, like they're gonna, you know, right? Because like that would be weird if you were expecting that to not be married. Do I think that's weird? I think it's interesting. I will say that my mom is taken care of in my will in the off chance that I die before her. Because the probability of that and the likelihood of that is like his mom's probably gonna leave this earth before you guys do. But it would, that would bother me if it wasn't like, if he wanted to give a percentage to her and then a percentage to you, that would be like, okay, I can see that, you know, like Tay and I just had to go through this whole thing and it's like very weirdly uncomfortable to like talk about all the different scenarios and stuff, but obviously like he has a child from a previous marriage. We're going to have a child together. He wants to take care of me. Like there's a whole bunch of different ways you can work it out and everybody does it differently. But if I was putting myself in her shoes, it would bother me if it was just the mom being taken care of and not her at all. Like you definitely as his partner deserve to have some of that and vice versa. Like he should be taken care of in like your untimely death.
Absolutely. No, I wholeheartly agree. And now Kurt Willett just popped into my head. And I know for a fact, no, he doesn't listen to podcasts. He actually refuses to listen. So he's not even going to listen to this. But my sister is my beneficiary because my dad literally for like a month straight was like, you need to make a will. And I was like, Dad, I'm 29. This is so morbid. And he was like, dead set. Now it's coming back to me. And I did have to call Craig, my money manager dude, good old Craig in Granbury, Texas, who manages all my money, and Alex Shea Willett. If something happens to me, everything goes to my sister. And now I'm like, she doesn't, what am I getting from this relationship? Because I sure as hell, I know that Alex is not giving me shit. So
you're like, Alex, am I even getting your clothes? Come on. Like what?
No,
what?
Literally,
what's the
no.
trade-off here?
She would give me her cat in like the litter box, and I'm like, don't want it. Don't want any of that. Not in my apartment, sister. But lucky if she gets every penny I have if something happens to me. So if I disappear tomorrow, it's because my sister has heard this podcast and has sent out a hitman, and it's like, she gone.
I'm coming for you, Alex. Gone. I know it's you.
You heard it here. My sister just got blindsided by her husband. We were together, they were together 11 years, married for 4, and she's now asking for a divorce. How do you support your sister in that situation? Like if you're on the outside looking in.
Wait, so the sister got blindsided by her husband, and now she's asking for the divorce?
Yes. Yeah, well, so the sister's asking, how can I support my sister in this divorce?
Oh, okay. I mean, like, that's, you just support her. Whatever she needs, like, going through it, you know, whenever someone decides to get divorced, like there's so much shame that society puts around it. There's supposed to be like embarrassment and like, oh, I'm a failure. And like I went through all of those fucking emotions when I decided I was leaving my ex-husband. And now looking back on it, I'm like proud of my divorce. Like I'm like, yeah, I fucking decided that this was not the life path for me, that I was not being treated how I deserved, and I fucking left. And like, thank God I did, watching the trajectory of that man's life after. Like, thank God I got out when I did. Like, it's scary. So I would say, you know, if someone gets blindsided in a situation, whether it's cheating or there's been trust that's been broken, if they've decided like, this is not my path and I need to get out, the only job you have is to make them feel supported in that decision and to love them. Like, don't try and like give them advice on like, oh, well, maybe you should like try and make it work and go to therapy. And like, they've done all that in their head. They've gone through all of the fucking scenarios. Like, if they've come to this decision, especially if it's fucking warranted by like an extreme act of betrayal, the only job you have is to support them and to love them and to, you know, how do they experience love? Is it you taking them out to dinner? Is it you going over to their house and like watching movies? Is it you packing up their shit with them and like making them know that they're not alone? Like, whatever they need to feel that support from you, that's your only job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Gabrielle said everything that I possibly could have said and more, but my suggestion would be just whine. If that was me and I had to be like, Alex, I'm going to tell you one thing that I need right now, and it's copious amounts of alcohol. So just like go stock up at the liquor store, all the wine, buttery Chardonnay if you're me. And then, support them, love them. So
Solid
all I
advice.
want is to wine. Okay, we're actually going to end. I want to do one more because this one, I actually like feel this in my soul. But this listener said, SOS, why can't I just like the nice guys? And I feel this in my core of cores.
Okay,
So I'll let you
let's
go
talk
first.
about it. So in the second book that I wrote, I dealt with this a little bit because I was now with Tay, who was showing me this incredibly like healthy, safe love. And I was like, I just feel like something's missing. And I couldn't figure out what this was. And this was this like entire journey that I had to go on. And what it came down to is I had come from an extremely toxic marriage where there was lots of narcissistic qualities and it like wasn't healthy and I wasn't happy. And it was like extreme fighting and then like lavish gifts and like very up and down. And then I went into a relationship after where I was love bombed and then heartbroken and broken up with. And then with someone who continued to kind of like keep me on this like dangling hook of like breadcrumbing me. And so when I got to this like nice, safe, healthy person, I was like, oh, well, like, where's all the drama? Where's all the toxicity? Like, this can't be it. My definition of love had become toxic. And if you're looking for something like, obviously this was subconscious. If you're looking for something and you're like, oh, I'm not getting that like feeling of like obsession and like intensity, and that's all toxic. We don't want that. But if you've been trained in your past relationships that is the definition of love, and that means that like you're super into this person and like that's what you're seeking, then when you're met with the quote nice guys or the safe, healthy love, it's going to feel like either there's something missing or there's not enough, or like, why am I just not like fully into it? When you eventually like can let that shit go and recognize the safe and the healthy as being beneficial for you, like, I love the fact that sometimes Tay and I are fucking bored. Like, we're like, we can be in bed together watching Netflix for like, like we thrived in the pandemic. Like during COVID, we were like, let's just be bored together. There's something so beautiful about not giving a shit that you have boring days with people. Like that for me is like what we should all be aiming for. Not this like fucking gnarly, passionate, like I love you, I hate you, like drama filled. Like that's fucking for our high school years and like maybe early 20s when like we need a little, you know, crazy romp around with like some lovers. There's difference between lovers and relationships, you know, like let's keep those different.
Yes. Oh my, and it's so funny because I talk about this in therapy all the freaking time as a single girl who's, you know, trying to date. I always talk about because I associate toxicity with excitement. Where in my last relationship, like that feeling, that toxic, that back and forth, why don't they like me? Why am I not getting enough? Like that in your brain, you're like, oh, well, that's the exciting thing. So when you have a normal, healthy love, it's so boring. Like when a guy would come pick me up and he would open the door and you would just go to a nice dinner, I would get home and I'd be like, like, no, I would immediately discount them. And my therapist would always be like, why are you discounting them? What, you had a nice time, you enjoyed yourself, and that's what dating is. Dating is going to a restaurant, and it's getting to know someone, and then it's coming home, and then it's continuing this pattern. But for me, it's like, oh, well, there's no scandals, and there's no jet setting across the world. Like I met my last partner in Africa on a TV show. Like you can imagine how that fucks your brain up with the normal relationship of like, oh, well, like this is it. So I think you just have to remember that. And like, you don't want the bad boy later in life. I think that's always what you need to remember too. Yes, it's fun now to like want to like chase someone or to like have the guy where like he's what everyone's chasing after. But do you want that guy when you're 50 or 60? Like when you're raising kids, that's what I always think about. Right. Do you want the guy who's like the dick or like who like doesn't treat you right or doesn't hold a door open, doesn't know what the sidewalk rule is? Like, no, you don't. So like stop. Like get that out of your head, please.
100%. And that's not us saying that like the person that isn't the bad boy, that's the safe, healthy option is going to be like this boring whatever. I can tell you every time I broke up with Tay, he had a fucking line of bitches that were like, wait, he's single? Let me get in on that shit. Like he is the farthest thing from being like a boring human. He's like obnoxiously good looking. I still 5 years in look at him like I just like look at him in the kitchen and I'm like, you must have got away with so much shit in your life, bro. Like, you're so good. Like, my biggest flex is the person that I finally picked to, like, actually impregnate me looks like that. And he's also, such a good guy.
Your kid's going to be so hot. Like, have you realized, like, who you procreated with? Like, you guys are going to make a beautiful ass child.
I did choose well. I will pat myself on the back for that. But it's like, and also, it's okay that steady, healthy relationships ebb and flow. And I think people forget that that's okay. And they're like, oh, we're in a dip and like, we're not like having as much sex like this month. Or, you know, I feel a little like distant, like, yeah, put some fucking work in and go be intentional with your partner. That's okay. There's times where like we go through a week or two where we're more on like the friend, like best friend vibe. And then it'll switch back and we'll be having a bunch of crazy sex and like really into each other and like doing all these date stuff. And both of those are okay. You want to find the person that when that's not there, when you don't feel sexy, when you don't like have the energy, that you still have so much fun with being around.
Right.
Neither of my exes were like that. Like it was like either we're up here and it's go, 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 or like shit's bad and we're fighting. Like there was never a happy medium of like, we can just exist together and love each other and enjoy each other's company. And that's what you want to look for.
Absolutely. No, I think, and as a single girl and like I'm starting to, you know, realize what I want in a relationship and what I want in a partner as like I'm meeting different people. It's like, you want a best friend. Like obviously you want to be attracted to them. You want to find them hot. You like want to have passionate, like, and be like, have chemistry, but like, I want a best friend. I want like you and Tay where it's like, yeah, you can sit in bed and just watch TV and almost say nothing, but just like have that person. And yes, maybe that's like the nice guy or what people think of like safe or like quote unquote boring. I'm like, no. Like that's what I want. I'm like craving that. So shift your mindset, homegirl, whoever wrote this in, or like anyone else who's like me out there. It's like, no, you got to get that out of your head, especially if you've dealt with toxic relationships.
Yeah, and like the poignant answer to that question is, if you are someone that identifies with why can't I like the nice guys, or why are the nice guys not enough for me, that's shit within you. So what trauma have you been through? What past relationship bullshit have you been through? What can you take accountability for? Take your ass to therapy for. Morgan and I both love therapy. what can you do to rectify where you picked up needing that toxicity from, and how can you let that shit go? Because once you do that and do the work on yourself, watch how the fucking nice guys start looking like a goddamn snack. And you're like, bitch, I'm at the buffet. Why does no one want these amazing men?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
You know what? I'm not even going to say anything. I'm going to end mic drop with that. The buffet of men. I'm like, yeah, what Gabrielle said right there. A freaking men. Okay, Gabrielle, thank you so much for joining me. I could chat with you all day long, but like, you're growing a whole ass human inside of you. So I'm going to like let you do like pregnant woman things. Where can everyone find you on social media? All of those fun things.
I am on Instagram at Gabrielle Stone. I am also on TikTok at Gabrielle_Stone. If you want to check out the books, they're exclusively on Amazon. The first one is Eat, Pray, FML. The second is The Ridiculous Misadventures of a Single Girl. You can also get both of those signed by me on my website, which is eatprayfml.com, where we also have the Fuck Off I'm Healing journal that you took on your Bali trip, and I was so happy to see it.
I'm obsessed with it. Gabrielle, I, for one split second, thought I left it on the plane, and you would have thought I left my passport. I would have rather lost my passport than lost this damn journal. Like, I am so upset. There's just so many memories in it. I love it. Guys, get the freaking journal. It's so magical, and it's when I finish it, I'm gonna like, I don't know what I'll do with it. I'll frame it. I'll send you some pics.
You should frame it and then like collage it with all your fucking solo travel photos.
Yes. Oh my God. Hell yeah. I'm literally doing it. Oh my God, Gabrielle, I love you so much. Thank you for joining me. Come visit me in Nashville at some point and bring your little nugget. I cannot wait for you to have a kid.
I will. I love you too. And I just have to say, I'm so fucking proud. You sent me a text in Bali when you were like journaling, and you were like about how far you've come, and like that like I entered your life when you started this kind of journey. And it's been so amazing to watch you grow, as I'm sure everybody listening to this and like following you on social media can attest to, like to watch you grow from like where you came out of the end of that breakup and the toxicity of like reality TV to where you're at now. And like the power and the change that I've seen in you has been so beautiful. And I'm just like, I just think you're a gem of a human, you fucking Barbie. I'm cheering you on always from afar.
I love you. Stop. You're going to make me cry. Seriously, love you so much. And until we'll have to have a part 2, because I did 2 episodes on your podcast. So guys, Gabrielle will be back.
2 so far. We're going to bring you back
many
eventually.
to come.
Love it. Love you.
Amazing. Thanks so much for listening to the Your Internet Best Friend podcast. It's been real. It's been fun. And I will see everyone here next week. In the meantime, do all the podcast things. Like, subscribe, give me a 5-star review if you please. And catch up with me on social media at Morgan Lee Willette. Bye, besties.